Hello everyone, it's Kim with the Craft Space. Thanks for stopping by. If it's your first visit, thank you for taking a chance and clicking on the video to see what we're doing here. And those of you that are returning, I appreciate it so much that you came back and you're going to check out the next step of what we're going to do today. This is all part of a craft journey that I'm doing in my craft space, and we're going to focus on day 2 of the junk journaling of our little golden books. So we have a lot today. So last video we did all of the covers, getting those ready to go. And then today we are going to work on the signatures and sewing them in and getting ready for the next stage. I did go ahead and pick out a bunch of pages for the book we're doing, and we will go from there. I will say that this was the one I was planning on doing on camera. Problem was, as I got to putting signatures and pages in, and I completely forgot and did this one at home. So we're going to just look at this one, but we're going to go ahead and switch to a different one for the tutorial today, because I want to make sure you guys get every step of the way. So I'm filming from my studio today, and it's super dry in here with the heater on, so I apologize having to stop and drink. So since this one is already out, we'll go with kind of where we went from just having the cover done to what was the next step. And so the next step was I added that cute trim that I said I really think goes well with the little Austrian lederhosen type outfit. The colors went well, and you can't really see it, but when I sewed this signature in, I went ahead and used that same turquoise embroidery floss, and I added the they call them drawer pulls, and these are exceptionally big ones. I did have some smaller ones, but I thought I wanted these all to be the same, so I got some bigger ones off of Amazon, and I went ahead and added those in. Let me show you where I put it. It just poked a hole through the middle, and here is the other part. I will, when it's all finished, and I'm sure I like that in there, and these are all nice, and I will take a piece of some sort of scrapbook paper and make a little square and cover that, but I will show that to you. But I just wanted to get that in before I got the signatures in. And I'm going to just quick throw these. I brought the trim all the way on the inside, and I went ahead and did 2 signatures, used vellum for, let me just sing in just a tiny bit. I used vellum for the first page so you still can see the front of the book, and then added just a variety of pages. The middle, instead of doing pockets like I normally do, I opted for a coloring page. And I did leave the signature strings a little bit longer because on these, I think I'm going to put some little dangles on the bottoms of these. These are going to be really chunky and plenty of journaling space, but also a lot of filler and a lot of fun interactive items. Look at how cute he is with his little tongue out. And I like using the vellum on these because then there's the page, but you can still kind of see him in there. And same thing with this. And I mirrored the pages. And as we go through and embellish some of them, I will do more of a flip through. This one also has a coloring page right here in the middle. Some little kid, I think it's kindergartner, I think kindergarten level notebook paper. And I did trim these edges off, which are then going to get all types of edge treatments with ribbons and rickrack and lace. And so I did trim them off so they don't hang off to start with, but they will hang off once we get all of the next stage done. And look at how cute she is. The little... and this one I did not cut just because this little gingerbread man, I felt he just... he just needed to go with the run as fast as you can't catch me, and the gingerbread man. I just felt that was a very cute little touch to that. But most of the other pages, I did trim them, and they did not, it did not take too much away from the book. And so, again, you're not using these to read the book. Those are just to tie the pages into the actual cover. Alrighty. And this is what we did with my little book of prayers. I went ahead and used green and yellow for it, and I did both. I double sewed this one in because I couldn't decide if I really liked the gold or the yellow. And this one is a little bit of a rougher book, as you can tell. And I covered up it had a little, like a little barcode thing, little barcode. You can see it just a tiny bit right there, the barcode UPC symbol on the front. And I didn't really like that. So I covered it up with some die-cut flowers, and I thought it looked cute. But I didn't want to hide her sneakers too much because her sneakers are pretty precious. And this one I only did one signature because of the way we have the binding done. It only had room for one. And again, vellum kept the front page of this. And this one was from 1982. It sure does look a lot older than 1982. So this is a very well-loved book. And I went ahead and used different types of paper, some scrapbook paper, as well as, there's a little, and I'll go through these when we're all finished. I'm going to do a full flip through, but this will just show you a little bit of how we added pages, what pages I kind of went for, some watercolor painted pages. And I don't mind in these types of journals to have some plain white pages because they'll probably be covered up with all kinds of fun things. More of the book page, and here is the middle of the signature. It's got, actually, did I use 3? I did. I used 3 different colors in here, 2 different greens and 1 yellow. And so these will have all kinds of dangly bits, and I'm not sure what we're going to use on those yet. I did keep this page purposely for the center because it ties in the front cover. And isn't it just precious, little kids playing marbles in the town? This is a really sweet little book. This is a calendar page that seemed to have a little bit of a coordinating factor to it. And then this one does have quite a bit of coloring on here, but at least they colored in the colors that we wanted. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that yet. I do kind of like the coloring on there, and we'll see. And then there's the back. I'm probably going to add a little bit of stuff to this so it's not so rough. All right, we'll go to the next one real quick. And these are just a quick little show through before we do the, to show you how to put the signatures in. But this is just giving you a little idea of how to intermingle your pages along with your book pages with extra pages. This one I did with, what is this? Parchment paper instead of using a true vellum. I like the crinkle that it gives. This is from 1986. And I went ahead and added a variety of different pages. I love these kids' writing papers. I use some darker, and I don't normally use these kinds of papers in my normal journals. So this has been fun so far. This one, I'm going to, let's see. I'm going to flip that way just to get rid of some of the white page, some coloring pages, some Easter egg dyed papers. And I'm going to go through and tack some of these down before the next session. So when we get to the embellishing phase, you'll see this is the first signature. Again, leaving the strings really long. This is part of the book page. Isn't she just sweet? Little Mama Duck. Some tea-dyed graph paper. This was from a guest book that the edges had a yellow strip. some more coloring pages. And so you see they're pretty similar because we're at the other side. Oh, look at her. She's packing up her little baby duckling. And again, second, using some parchment paper, tried to pick a page. And of course, it's not in order of the story, but I just liked getting to the next signature with the duck being as the first page. And I hope you find some of this useful. Sometimes it seems a little beginnerish, but we all get into ruts, and sometimes watching how somebody else does their journals does seem to help, you know, give us a little bit of inspiration when we're doing our journals. And you need just a little bit of help. Look at him folding. He's doing his little packing. And we are at the second signature again, leaving the strings. I use the yellow because of the duckling. And again, similar pages, a little avocado dyed page. And these vibrant colors are going to be fun, I think. Because you can still even write on them. I thought this little paper, it's that old stationery paper, I think it's from the 80s or 90s, that the whole border has the houses around it. And I thought that would be cute for moving day. And look, he's even getting the beavers to help him move his stuff. And there we are. And here's the back of the book. It's just white, and so I'm sure I will do something fun there. And the pokey little puppy again. I added the this drawer pull. This is where the dangle and the dangly charm is going to go. I used some vellum here. Pokey little puppy. This says copyright 1942. I don't think this is a 1942 book. Oh, copyright renewed 1970. So maybe it's a second printing of 1970. And as you see, I did have to trim these off because in doing so, when you take the spine out, you lose about this much. So what is that? About a half of an inch, because this is where the spine is connected. So when you open it up and flatten it, you do lose about a half an inch. So that's how much I trim off of the edge. Some Amazon packing paper. Here's a big one of those tear off calendar boards. I won't show you too much of it. Oh, there they are. This little booty, they're all sleeping. But as you can see, some of the words are cut off, but that's okay because we're not here to read the story. This is here as just kind of an homage to the book. Middle of the signature. I will say this is one of my favorite parts from the book. I love this part and this little picture with the strawberry where he's eating. So I made that the signature middle. Again, leaving the strings longer. Some regular tea-dyed paper. Again, carrying over little kid writing paper. This reminds me of, there's a part where they're running down the hill and the pokey little puppy. That reminded me of that. So I just tried to find some coordinating papers. This is some scrapbook paper that looked like a fence to me, so it matched a little bit. And this seems to be the part that takes the longest of all of doing the journals. And again, you can see where the middle part went, but I'm surely going to be inspired to cover that with something fun. And there's that little hillside that with the flowers on it that made me use this. Them running down, I thought these rocks just looked really perfect with the puppies there. And some more of the scrapbook paper. So I've used a variety of paper. I did not use any music pages in here, which I normally do. I didn't use any regular book pages. I just didn't think they looked right in here. Feel free to use whatever you want, but I just kind of had a vibe that I wanted for this journal. This is pearlized. You can kind of see it in the light. I love this. Look at that frog. How cute is he? And don't worry if you get little bits like this where it's ripped or it's torn, damaged from getting the staples out. That all can be covered up. We can put some ribbon down there. We can put some little piece of scrapbook paper that matches, and that'll hide that no problem. And this is the middle of the signature because this is another one of my favorite parts of the story, is in the little blankets. And if you have not read The Pokey Little Puppy, you need to do so. All right, so we'll just flip through some more Easter egg dyed paper for this one. And again, we've already seen this. Oh, look at how sweet he is. And then ending it again with that back of the vellum. Okay, just a couple more real quick, and then we will get to adding our own signatures in. This is Play With Me, the little peekaboo game, the little peekaboo boy. This one, we're going to have to do some damage control here, but I got it sewn in here without hurting it anymore. I'm probably going to do maybe a pocket here, but we'll talk about how we're going to fix this. This says it's the 5th printing, 1976. The original was 1967, but 1976, a lot of you probably weren't even born by then, and some of us were born well before then. I don't know why I'm trying to hold this up in the air. I can put it back on the table. Went through some computer paper, and if you've noticed, I'm using quite a bit of this. I love this with the it already has the yellow line down it. More scrapbook paper. I love the houses because you'll see throughout the pictures I chose from the book had a lot of indoor house scenes, so I thought the house paper went very well with this. And as it's a bigger book, I was able to keep the entire part. Some tea dyed or coffee dyed notebook paper. As you can see, they're in the house, so I thought that would blend the houses in there. And if you notice, I did cut some of these off to fit in the book, but it really doesn't show. I tried to make sure we didn't get I had to rearrange this one and put it so that I didn't have to cut as much off. It's a sweet little mouse. Some watercolored paper. This is from a guest book. This will be embellished. Craft colored paper. Scrapbook paper. These guys kind of looked funny to me, so I kept those. Middle of the signatures, you notice I didn't do pockets on this one. I tried to mix it up a little bit so we can be a little bit more creative when we're embellishing. And just do a quick little flip through. This one, if you notice, the baby is kind of cut, but that's okay. You get the full baby right here with Dad. More houses, some more striped paper. Isn't that just sweet? I just thought that was just a sweet little picture. And little peekaboo. And I thought it was cute where just part of it is covered with the vellum and the little one is sticking out. And I tried to keep these two because I like the continuity of the peekaboo there, and it just happened to work out that way. Again, we'll just flip through quickly. Some more of the nursery rhymes. I'm trying to see, and I'll use this as a different computer paper. Some scrapbook paper. These are just the most precious little guys. Isn't that just sweet? And see, again, we had to cut this off here, but it didn't really impact it too much. Again, leaving the strings. And look at that, so big. And we'll just kind of flip through these, and we get to the back, and look, nighttime, kind of the end of the book. Alrighty, and we'll do these very quickly, and then we'll get to putting ours together. This is that golden book that I completely, the only thing that really shows that it's a golden book is the back and then the inside cover. Otherwise, I kind of redid the entire book because I wasn't a fan of the Paw Patrol on the front. So, and this one I did not do a vellum page because I did not use any of the golden book pictures. I went right into a fun technique of doing shorter pages, longer pages, as opposed to it just starting off with a regular book style. Probably going to do some sort of fun trim or something on here. This nice white page will probably get a nice piece of something that'll tie it all together. We'll flip through some, just if you notice, some of the papers are the same. We have a calendar page. This is one of my longer ones, and so that seemed to fit in here better. Went ahead and did some coloring pages, but as you notice, I don't have any storybook in this one because the Paw Patrol is going to probably get turned into something else. Little middle signature, again leaving the strings pretty long, and trying to use not just the colors of the book, but just similar blending colors all the way through. This is, and there's the end of that signature. Then this is from just another kid's storybook. So I thought, let's put Jack and the Beanstalk. He just seemed to fit right there. If you can see right here is the drawer pull, or the hangy part, before we're going to put our dangle charm. This will eventually get covered up at the very end. Some blank music page, a little doily, and it's open because what I think I'm going to do is I wanted some color in here. I'm going to put a single piece in here and glue that together, but I wanted to see how the journal kind of flowed before I chose what I wanted. This, I was able to pull the book apart, and instead of these being torn and all yucky, I kept them intact so I can weave a little piece of ribbon through there, which will hang off, and we'll do that during the embellishment phase. I went ahead and used some washi tape to make these pages a little bit longer. This is that kindergarten paper that I dyed with Easter egg dyes. And this book has 3 signatures, so I tried to carry through some of the scrapbook paper. So first signature has this little piece. Second signature has the middle. This is the second signature. Made a little fun fold-out piece. This was from a notebook that I just added so that I could get a wider page. You can hinge them together with your washi tape and be able to use different pages. This is a placemat. I love the little scallop edges and that you can see through it just a little bit. I will say the paper is a little bit on the thin side, so instead of trimming this, I will ink this edge, and then I'm just going to glue this down for a little bit of stability so when you're turning the page it doesn't tear. Middle section, it kind of had a little homage to the front cover. I like that. Again, leaving the strings long. And we already saw the first ones. A little extra. This is masking tape. And surprisingly, masking tape comes in all different colors, but be careful and make sure you glue them down when hinging your pages or using it, because it's just like washi tape and the sticky doesn't always stay sticky. But each one of them has a different purpose. Some are light, like light sticky, and some are pretty heavy duty. So just check the stickiness of it. Again, here's that other doily. And I think I only put a doily on the center signature. There's some nice big chunky writing, which I thought was fun. I'll probably put a little pocket here and add some things to not cover up the writing, but that'll make it just a background so it's not as obvious that it's not, you know, for reading. This owl just needed to be there. I thought he was just very sweet. Now we're to the third signature, which is a little bit more similar to the first one, and this middle section has its own kind of feel to it, but then I went back to the first style with the shorty page. And very, very similar. If not, maybe it's exactly the same as the first one. I think it is. It's exactly the same as the first one, to give it a little continuity. And I know I said that I was going to keep working on not being so matchy-matchy and so coordinating, but you know, you can't teach an old dog new tricks most of the time. And here is the one that I think is going to be my favorite. Just the way all the fun stuff, my trolls. I'm still trying to find a couple of old trolls to hang down for the charm. I just have not found the right ones yet, because I don't think I want to use the actual DreamWorks or Disney trolls so that they're exact. I want to use the old-fashioned ones from like the 70s. All right, again, I used this one I used parchment paper. A heavier duty, no, this is freezer paper. I used freezer paper on this one. It's a little bit heavier duty, but it's still pretty transparent. This book is from 2016, but I like it doesn't seem like it's super bright white, but it looks fun. And so I did a little play on using a little calendar page, and I really just tried to go with what pages were around it as to what I chose for the pages for this signature. This one seems a little bit on the scary side, but that's okay. Does that seem like the same picture to you? Oh, it is. It's the same picture from the front cover. This kind of reminded me of Troll Chaos. That's why I used it's document paper where you would print off like little certificates. Got to use some really fun scrapbook papers that I don't normally use in my my journals, and some notebook paper that I think we used this in one of my craft camps in summer camp, and we used it to test out like color testing, so you could tell what color the little watercolor paints were. And so I just then added a little bit extra to it, brush clean off, and used it in here. So remember that if you have extras from your kids doing things, add a little bit more paint to it, and it becomes a really great page for your journals. This is Rit dye. I was dyeing something, and I had a little extra of the dye left, so I thought, well, let's throw some paper in and see what color we get. I love using my scraps up for these types of pages, because you can, I mean, they're just the different textures or the different sizes. Some ledger paper that I put together because I wanted the pages to go this way instead of the other way. Put it together with some washi tape. Little grumpy troll right here. The greens tended to blend together. I chose using a tea-dyed paper just to kind of get rid of some of this darkness and not try to put another color to fight with the colors here, but enough to just maybe blend it and tone down how dark that was going to be. Alrighty, and this is the top of a calendar that I had, so I stuck him in the middle. I thought trolls and gnomes, those go together well. Again, leaving the middle strings long. And if I decide that I want to just tie them in a bow or do something else, you can always cut them, but I just leave them to the end most of the time and then make my decision. Look at her. I'm still not sold on leaving her in there. This is scary to me, and not everybody wants this, but maybe I'll do something where it's a fold over and you can open up and see her. I'm not sure yet. Because it doesn't have the story of the trolls, I don't know how much I liked it, but I liked the other page that was on there. And I do like this. This is kind of fun. So I think I'm just explaining too much of it. We're to the other side of that paper that was put in here. This is from a composition notebook, if that helps at all. Those make great filler pages. This is it looks like just a piece of orange paper with white on the back, but this is the, you know how in a regular book there's that first page that's got that fancy paper on it? That's not the cover, but it's not the title page. This is one of those, and I thought the orange just looked perfect in here, so I had to add that. Another part of the book page, and the page on the other side of the signature was the full length, and so this is just a little shorty page, so don't worry about having to make sure that your pages are folded directly in half. Here's the back of that calendar page. It had like that sticky part from like a post-it note, and so I didn't quite glue it down yet because I wasn't sure exactly if I wanted to make this like glue that part and that part and make this a pocket this way. And again, I try not to make any decisions until I get to the embellishing phase. Another grumpy troll, but look at how cute these little guys are. And we are to the vellum paper. Alrighty. We'll just do this real quick. I loved her little jumpsuit in here. I thought that little jumpsuit needed to be in here. And again, very similar pages. And if you don't necessarily love the picture, you can always put a big pocket over this and this becomes the background. So So don't get too worried about it when you're picking your pages. If the story doesn't make sense or you don't like the certain pictures, you can always cover them with other fantastic scrapbook paper and any kind of paper or whatever we're going to embellish it with. So, alrighty, this is the other half of that blank music page because Trolls is a musical, but I didn't want to put traditional music page in here, but I thought having the blank music page kind of added to the fact that it was a musical. It wasn't quite long enough, that's why there's a shorty page. And I'm trying to get in the habit of not always having my shorty pages on the other side of the signature, but sometimes moving them to the front so that there's shorty pages on both sides of the signature. Okay, we are almost done here. We're getting to the back. I really love this paper, and it actually has a nice crinkle feel to it, so it's going to have a nice textile or texture to it when using this journal. And again, not everything is a matchy match through the whole journal. It just is kind of similar to the pages that are around it, so it's not too jarring. I thought this was just sweet. And you can always cut a half circle is what I was looking at this. I might do a half circle of all different colors because it doesn't really make sense because I didn't put it in here in the right order. All right, we are almost done. I used quite a few of the Trolls pages in here just because there's 3 signatures. Was it 3? No, 2. 2 big signatures. And we are at the back. Okay, so those are the ones that I finished. I told you that we were going to do one on camera, but I wanted to kind of, I'm doing these in stages so you guys can all see them. And so today, the one we're going to do is, since we're no longer doing the gingerbread man like we were before, we are going to do Snow White. And so I did her cover already. Real quick explanation is I added I gave her a hard spine because the Golden Book tape was in really bad condition. So I went ahead and split the book completely and gave her a fun calico style, calico style fabric, just some cotton. I think this is an old blouse I had. That got a hole in it. So, and I left it fuzzy. And instead of doing gingham, I did gingham on all the other ones. On this one, what I thought we would do is I really liked this ribbon ruffle, and I thought this would be pretty to put right down here. But I'm not sure yet, and that's why it hasn't gone in. That you can, I like to do those ahead of time, but you can put it on at the end. But instead, what we're going to do is I'm going to show you now how to get your signatures into your journal. And I'm sure there's a million videos on the 3-hole signature stitch or pamphlet stitch. I'm just going to show you because I wanted this to be a more beginner, from beginning to end type thing. I did go ahead and choose all of my pages and got them pre-cut for us so that those were all done, so we could take a look at the other ones and then just sew these in, and this video isn't 2 hours long. So, and we'll flip through them as soon as we get them sewn in. I did do a little cheat, and what I did was I made out of the back of a notebook or a notepad, I just took this little piece of, it's not super thick, but it has some weight to it. And I measured the spine, went ahead and cut it so that it's a mimic to the spine. And the easiest way to tell if it's going to work is fold it like this and make sure that it stays, but there's no extra, it's not forcing the book open, and then you know that it's nice and the right width. And what this does is it makes it a little bit easier to make your holes in the back of your cover. But I always start, and not everybody does it this way. So once I have my signatures ready to go, and you know what I forgot? I always forget something at least once during a video, is I forgot my paper clips. I always like to use paper clips to keep everything nice and snug and where they need to go. I will say some of the YouTube channels I watch, they just really wing it and just grab a hold of it and start sewing. And to me, I never can seem to get them straight. And not that they need to be perfect, but I just think if you're going to sell them or if you're going to give them as a gift and they're not yours, you want them to be, you know, a little bit more put together and some of the finishing touches taken care of. So I just, I make sure that my crease is as far back as I can get it. So I get it pushed back, and then I get my first 2 paper clips in, and then I open it back up and I really push it in there. You can take a ruler and really kind of push that in there to make sure it's good. And then I'm sure this is overkill, using all these paper clips. I will tell you, as a seamstress, that's what I do for a living, is I sew. I rarely use a pin to hold anything together. I just sew. But when it comes to paper, I feel like I clip it within an inch of its life, because I guess I have a little type A personality there. But with sewing, I barely use a pin. So, okay, again, these are all nice and cut. And I'm just trying to make sure that they're straight, because some of the pages were not quite 8 inches tall. So, again, we're going to go ahead and put our paper clips in, take our little ruler. And I'm sure this is overkill for most of you, but we always have new people that it can't hurt to do it one more time. And I think the more times you watch it and the more times you watch the physical part in other people's hands, it really, really can help. Okay, so now I've got 2 signatures ready to go. And what I do is I lay them so they're kind of right spine, not exactly spine to spine, but close enough. And I'm just we'll do this real quick. And old-fashioned pencil, and I eyeball it. You can measure. You can absolutely measure. I never seem to, because I'm overkill on the paper clips, and then I don't measure. I just look to see about where it's gonna fit. So, and then I just draw the line on both of them. And then on here, same thing. You don't want to go right to the edge. You want to, I pull it up about maybe 3/4 of an inch. So just in case you do have some less than long pages. And then I don't like having it all the way at the edge. I like to go up just a little bit. And don't worry if it's not exact, because it doesn't need to be exact. The only part that needs to really be more exact is once we get it on the little, what do you call this, template. Okay, so then I just lay this template just to start with. I know these are not centered, and all I'm doing is putting where they go in relation to top to bottom. I am not worrying about where they go in the middle yet, just because we'll get to that in a second. Okay. So now you can see, I just made, I don't think, maybe you can see, well, you can't really see, but I don't want to make them too, they're just very, very faint. So there's one here, here, and here. You can eyeball this. Sometimes I do just eyeball it. And since this is your template, I just line up the edge of the ruler where the line is, and I draw straight across. And then we'll do the same thing here. I line up the edge of the ruler, and because this has a cork back, it's kind of sticky, so I'm going to flip it over, because I'm not really using the numbers so much as I'm just using I want this edge to be straight, and then that will give me a straight line here. And same with this one. And don't worry if you can't see the lines. It's not going to really matter that you can't see the lines. Okay, so now 3, and that just shows in relation to where the holes are going to go, not this way, but this way. Now, I will say the one place that I do measure is, and see, of course, then you have to do math, and that's why I don't always like to measure. So this one looks like we've got 1 1/2, so 1 1/2 I always call it, so it'll be 1 and, see, I'm so bad with measuring. 1 line after the 1/2, so it's a 16th, so what would that be? 4/8, 8, 9/16. I'm not going to worry about it. I just wanted to see about how wide we were looking at. So our spine on this one is just under 2 inches. Okay, so because we don't need this to be completely exact, if you want to, you can, then you would just divide it and get your numbers. I will tell you, I've only done that one time. Otherwise, what I do is I kind of eyeball and put the middle in, just a little this, and I start with this one and say, okay, I want one signature to go about there and one to go about there. And as long as I'm not, see, I already made the mistake. As long as I'm not too close to either side. All right, so I wanted to just scoot these over just a tad. There. And I know that it's going to drive some people crazy. You can very much measure and make sure they're even. All that matters to me is that they're even on each one going both directions. And it doesn't matter what that number is. It's just an arbitrary number. And to me, unless somebody's going to measure it, who's going to know that maybe this one is a 1/2 of a 16th, a 1/32 off from the other one? So then again, I'm going to use this trick where I line up my, whoops, let me move back into frame. This one is where I'm going to line up so that the top of my ruler, which is straight, lines up with that first line. And then don't worry about the middle line because nothing is going there. Then this one we're going to measure so it lines up with the very top, so your ruler is straight. And I know most of you are probably saying, oh, I've done this a million times, or I've never done this, but yeah, I get it. Let's move on to the next stage. But this is all the non-fun stuff about doing junk journaling and bookbinding and that type of thing. This is not exciting. The gluing, the picking the pages, the putting all the embellishments on, that's where the fun is. But this is the stuff that if you don't get this right, then your book doesn't seem to turn out as nicely. Okay, so now as you can see, I'll get a little close up. We have this little grid pattern going on. I am going to go ahead with my little Dollar Tree punchy tool. You can use an awl, you can use your, where is my needle? You can use your thick needle to poke your holes. I just choose to use, I'm using this today. Sometimes I'll use my awl, sometimes I'll use this. And very simply, I just poke my holes. Again, I know a lot of very experienced, and watch your hands that you don't stick it through your finger. A lot of experienced people that I watch here on YouTube, they just wing it. They just go for it. But unfortunately, I am not one of those type. Okay. So then what we want to do is we want to line this up, and I usually just take one of my paper clips. I don't know how they seem to all blend together in the drawer. And then make sure that I've got it right in the middle where it wants to be. And again, the way you can tell is get it in there and then do this, and as long as it's not curling or pinching on either side, you know you're right in the middle. And then I'm going to go ahead, and I should have something underneath, but this is my work surface and this table is pretty messed up. But a lot of times what I will do is I will put a mouse pad underneath, or a little piece of foam, or an extra piece of cardboard, something like that. I do have these that I cut off. Maybe I'll stick these underneath just so you don't go right into your table. And I just make a simple, just a really simple, you know, for those, to get those two in and then lift it up a little, because you don't want to put too much pressure on it, especially if your spine is not, completely sturdy, then you want to be careful that you don't put too much pressure on it so that you're bending your spine. But this, I think I used a very thick piece on this one. Again, I'm trying to create these journals. I say way too many times. I'm trying to create these journals between my home studio and my craft space studio, and so I don't always have the same materials at both home and here. So sometimes I have to grab a cereal box, sometimes I'm pulling something apart just so I can finish it and not have to wait until the next day. All right, so the top two holes are completed, and let's just quickly try to get through these. And again, I like to do a quick little pierce to start with. Let's hit it again to get the holes started, and then I will go ahead and punch them through. And on this calico, it's not going to really show up very much, so we're probably going to have to go through coming from the other side to just really make these holes to where you can see them. I should have used the awl. I think that may have been a better option because it's a little bit longer and I would have had just a bit more leverage on these, but I think these will work fine, or this will work fine. All right, two more. Normally, these are not as tough, but I don't remember what I used for this, but boy, it sure is thick. And I don't think that I would have been able to just jam this needle through how thick that was. So keep that in mind. I think I actually bent my little tool. Maybe that's why I'm having such a hard time. Just keep that in mind when it comes to the tools that you have on hand. Make sure that you have the tools that you need for the materials that you are using. Okay, almost done. Oh, this one's a toughie. And by the way, while we are finishing this up and I go through all these holes, I realized yesterday I did a quickie video, a come pack with me video, and mentioned that when I hit 100 subscribers that I was going to be giving away a free journal. And then for every 100 subscribers that I get, we'll do another drawing. And I didn't even realize that I was at 65 just a couple of days ago, and I'm now over 100, so I'm behind. So what I'm going to do is this weekend, I'm going to create that journal, and come Monday, I am going to use a random draw for this, and one of you subscribers will be getting a free one of my journals. And then I will do the same thing for, we can remove this now because we've already got the pilot holes, but what I'm doing now is I'm going through from the front cover back so that we can make the hole just a little bit better and we can see it for when we sew this in. But yes, so come Monday, we will, we're going to start working on embellishing these journals, and I will also do a drawing for whoever gets the free journal. So if you have not subscribed yet, then maybe today is a good day to do so, because then you get a chance to win the free journal. And I'm going to say that even if you win one this time, you can win one next time at the next 100, and that would be when we get to 200, and that would be fantastic. And maybe once I figure out how to use the random draw, maybe you get extra chances if you share this with a friend and they become a subscriber. But we'll see. That's a little fancy for my technological abilities, so we will see. Okay, there we go. The holes are complete. Now, we've got two different, and I thought that this would be pretty, to do, let's see, those two would be great. And then I think I do kind of like that green that'll go on there. And you have up until the point in which you sew it to change your mind. And you can even take it out if you don't like how it looks. They're very easy to take out. Okay. What I'm going to do now is move this out of the way. I like working in a clean space. Even though my table's a little bit yucky, I like not having a bunch of stuff around. I did grab a pair of pliers because this was so thick that I might need to use the pliers to help get this needle through, because my awl is a bigger hole and this is a smaller hole, and I didn't want to have to fight while I was showing you how I would do this. This is just a, let's see, it's a 4, it's a number 4, oh no, it's how many are in here. Large eye for sewing knitted garments, a Singer hand sewing needle, nickel plated. This is a vintage one, and I just grabbed one of them up, but I thought I would just show you. It doesn't matter what kind it is, as long as it's got a little bit of heft to it. I have one, I've used it so much that it's actually starting to curve a little bit. But that is in my home kit, not my kit here. And I'm using regular embroidery floss. Some people say that it doesn't hold up very well. I've never had them break when I use the entire skein. Don't pull one thread out like you would with embroidery where you separate it. I use the solid whole twisted part together, which is 6 threads, I think. I've never had a problem with it breaking. So I'm trying to decide, do we want to, come on, stand up. Do we want to do a double? So both of them have the red and the yellow together. I think that's going to be the best. So I measure by just doing 1, 2, 3 is the way I measure it. It's just 3 lengths. And that should be enough. And I pulled another piece out because I wasn't sure how we were going to do this. And the nice thing about these large eyes is you should be able to thread both of them into the needle at one time. If you cannot, then what I would suggest is if your needle only lets you get one bit through, get your signature sewn in and then just go back through with the second color. But I think I'm going to be able to do both of them with the same color. Now let's see if we can do this without it being too awkward. Okay, I've got my first signature here. I'm going to put the back one in first. I don't know why, I just feel like I should put the back one in first. Okay, make sure it hasn't changed. It's all nice and solid. And then, again, you could very easily just YOLO it and stick it right through like this. And I just try to eyeball it a little bit. But instead, if you've got a tool, you might as well use it. So, and don't worry if you don't, if it doesn't come directly through where you want it to. Just don't push too hard. And if you notice that it's coming through and it's not where you want it, you can always pull back out and redirect. And no one's going to see the extra holes. I mean, I guess if you go in and out back and forth, then you might see a lot of them. But most of the time, you'll be able to... I bent this. I'm going to grab my secondary one because that might help. And these come in a 2-pack at Dollar General. No, Dollar Tree, I think. And so I don't mind that mine bent. All right, let's see here. Let's see if I'm close. And this is just a skill that you just have to kind of get used to. I always find that I'm about a 1/8, or I should say a 32nd of an inch one way or the other on these. And then you have to readjust. But again, this is the boring part. This is not the exciting part. But if you've never done this before, or if you wanted a little refresher, here we are. We're almost done though, and then we will let you get on with your day. Okay, so here this goes right in the middle hole like so. And then you pick up your book and you find your middle hole, and you shove it through. You can pull it all the way through your pages to start with, but I'm going to just wing it. And I'm kind of wiggling this to try to open that hole up just a little bit, because this is the hole that we have to come back through. And so I want that to be just a little bit wider. So I'm just kind of, as I'm going through, I'm wiggling it. Alrighty, kind of feel like a surgeon doing stitches here. Okay, so with a 3-hole pamphlet stitch, you come through the bottom, and then you're going to want to find your top hole. And what I do is I kind of cheat just a little bit, is I put my needle through all the way and start pulling it through before I try to, look at that. I completely just unthreaded my needle. I pulled so hard. That's okay. We'll just get it rethreaded here. Boy, always when you're in a hurry is when you tend to make your mistakes. And I won't gross anybody out by licking it on camera, but now look, it doesn't want to go through. Alrighty. And I would tell you that I could just edit this part out, but again, I don't have a lot of technology skills, and so editing is not my strong suit. Okay, now we are pulling. Don't worry if these are not pulled all the way tight. As long as you've got plenty on the inside, you're doing fine. I like to try to get my needle to go through when my pages are somewhat folded. I feel like it tends to go through better that way, instead of laying it flat trying to get it to come through. Okay, so now we've gone in this way to the outside, and now we're coming through this top like so, and now you drag it all the way down to the bottom. We're going to stuff it right here into this bottom hole. And I do not look as graceful as so many people I watch do this on camera. And you would never believe I'm a seamstress by the way I sew signatures in to a book. And be careful when you're doing this. If you notice, I'm pulling this towards my body. Probably not my best choice. Okay, so as you can see how we are, we went out through the middle hole, in through the top hole. And I start pulling it a little bit more taut, but I am nowhere near getting it ready to tighten in, because this is always the hard part, because you have to try to go back in through the same hole you came out, but you don't want to split all of your threads apart, because then it makes it hard to tighten it. So again, I pulled it through, and now sometimes I will grab my inside threads and kind of make them taut, so that when you are putting it back through this section, you're not splitting all the threads. And if you notice, I totally missed the hole, so I did not get it all the way through. So very simply, you just pull it back out. And this is always just a leap of faith here. And again, this is a little bit easier to do when you're not trying to keep it in focus. There we go, I got her. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and remove the needle. And I'm going to give it a little cinch and make sure that I am pretty tight. Make sure there's no big loops inside here where you may have caught it. Now, you want to make sure that this almost looks like ketchup and mustard. And if you noticed right here, I don't know if you can see, that went through. You don't want that. You want to make sure that it is that your middle thread is completely separate from your top and bottom, or your side threads. then I just give it a nice little tug. Don't pull too hard because then you'll rip here. And you want to just double check and see that it's snug. And then I do a very simple square knot. So right over left and pull nice and tight, and then left over right. And then I do it again. So I do 3 knots. And since these are not very big, these are not very thick signatures, I've got 3. And then I'm going to leave it at that. I'll go back, zoom out. So I'm going to leave it at that. And if you notice, then there's a bunch extra. I'm just going to leave that. And if it tends to bother you and you think it's too messy, tuck it in your, like that. Then, since we did the back one first, I take the paper clips off and I clip the whole thing to the back cover. So now this should stay out of your way. I'm very gentle with that. Now this should stay out of your way when we do this next part. And again, I had one of these. And since I know that this piece is long enough, I'm not going to measure times 3. I'm just going to save a little bit of time. Alrighty. Yeah, it's crazy how fast time flies. When you're trying to show off all your steps and you get to talking and you get to visiting. I will say that junk journaling is not a fast, get it done right away type craft. It does tend to take quite a bit of time. So there we go. Okay, let's quickly just get this one. I won't explain this one as much as I did with the other one because you've already watched me put that one in. Take our little tool, pop our little holes in. I really like this vellum with the flowers on it. I think it had a piece of matching scrapbook paper, but I used the scrapbook paper for something else. I like to try to keep the sets together, but the other piece that I used in a project was just too perfect, and it didn't need a piece of vellum to go with it. So. And now this, I think, is just as perfect for Snow White. Oh, look at that. First try each time. Okay. And I noticed that this is not making as big of a hole as the eye of the needle. So all I'm doing is kind of widening out the holes a little bit. All right, let's quickly do this part. So while I'm doing this, okay, let's again out the... And like right now, I cannot see where I made the center hole. So you might have to go back in and widen it out. Oh, it's right in the seam, that's why. Alrighty, so while I'm doing this and going back out this middle hole, using my pliers to pull it through, I am going to really work on making a journal that I will give away on Monday. So you'll have to stay tuned and come back and see if you won. And then we'll have to get your address so I can ship it out to you. The only thing is that if you can let me know what kind of journals are your favorite. Do you like the fun, multicolored, bright journals like this? Do you like a more vintagey journals? Do we like a mixed religious journals? All kinds. There's all different kinds. And some of us like to make a certain kind, but actually journal in a different kind. So I know a lot of YouTubers will buy journals online by other creators because they like to journal in a different style than they like to create. So, but so most of these are going to be either gifts, they're going into craft fair that I'm getting ready to do, and or going up on my Etsy store because it's been like old Mother Hubbard on there. It's a little empty right now. So that's why I'm kind of mass making these to fill that up. But let me know what kind of journals you like to make. What kind do you like to journal in? do you like to gift with them? So I can kind of look through them and see what I'm going to make this weekend as my first giveaway journal on this channel for 100 subscribers. That's exciting. It doesn't take anything to subscribe, doesn't cost you anything. It doesn't pester you. Just, I think you just have to hit the little bell and it'll let you know when I post a new video, since I don't post always right on time because I travel a lot for work, or sometimes I post 3 of them in a row in a week, and sometimes I do 1 a week. It just all depends on what my work schedule is. That's the joys of working for yourself. Okay, so if you see, I'm kind of struggling just a little bit. This, I think I should not have used such a hard cardboard for this spine. Okay, now we're to the crucial part where you want to hold this tight. And this is where I like to do the back ones first because I'm right-handed. And now I'm working from bottom to top. I mean, I guess I could flip it over, but I just tend to do this from bottom to top. Okay, we're almost there, guys. Alrighty. Always a lesson to learn when we're building a new journal. Okay, one more. We're almost ready to tie this off. So yeah, let me know what kind of journals you like, so that maybe along the line, when it's your turn to win one, you get one that's in your style. Okay, now I'm going to show you where I did make a big, if you see, this is all like mixed together. Can you see how it's, I didn't split these, but I definitely came back through here. You're going to want to separate that all out and make sure that they are completely not on through each other. I think it's the 2 yellow ones separated each other, because then you're not going to get it nice and tight. And if you don't get it tight, then your pages are gonna, your whole signature is gonna kind of do this. So it is worth it to take the time and get your strings separated so that they are completely not going through each other. So if you can see that one, I have definitely got this one going through here, and I do not want that. So I'm going to get that one out, get this one separated back. My fingers are very dry. I've been sewing a lot over the last couple of days, and so my hands are very, very dry right now, and making the strings not want to play well with each other. Okay, so now they're all separate, and now you want to put your red and yellow one back together that came through together, and you can easily tell because they're the same lengths. So here we are. Give it a nice little tug, and make sure that your tying threads are definitely on either side of your middle. There we go. Okay, so this tutorial was more about looking and seeing the different styles of papers to choose from, what you think looks the best, giving you some ideas about what looks the best with things, or not what the best, but my idea of what I thought was going to look the best, some different ideas, why I didn't use some of the traditional things I use in my journals. All right, 3 knots. And also then getting the signatures all nicely sewn in. Okay, so it looks like we are done. So go ahead and remove your paper clips. And carefully remove your paper clips. I have noticed that sometimes the sharpness of the paper clip can scratch your paper or scratch your cover. So just be mindful of that. Pull all of your threads through, and look at that. We now have 2 signatures bound into our cover, solid hardcover, strings hanging down. I will go ahead, and I think I'm going to go ahead and add this, but I will do this off camera. Does kind of blend. But yeah, I'll decide. And on this journal, I've decided I did not want to use one of those big round ones. I have a special clip that I'm going to use to hang this dangle on. So that's why this one does not have the, it's called a drawer pull, like for a jewelry box or something. There's got to be another name. And I asked a couple of people on a group that I'm part of, and they called it a drawer pull, but there's got to be another name for those. So if you know that, let me know in the comments below. But anyway, thank you so much, guys, and I will see you on the next video in the next day or two. And we are going to work on, we're going to start embellishing by putting trims on the edges. We'll start embellishing these for maybe 2 videos of embellishing, and then the final one will be making the dangles for the edge, and we should be done with these golden books. Again, let me know what you think of this. If you can subscribe, I would really appreciate it. If you can like this video, I would love if you could do it. And come, I believe Monday, which today is Thursday, so come Monday, we are at 100 subscribers, and I will be giving away a free journal. So thanks so much for your time, guys. We'll see you soon. Bye.